What's up? So good to see you guys all again. So one thing that we're going to be working with Into Thin Air is talking about the power of connotative language. We know that certain words can probably carry more meaning than other words, but to actually, study that and explore that and how that operates in a piece of nonfiction is going to be crucial to kind of understanding John Krakauer's overall claim and message that he's trying to get us to understand in the book. So we're going to take a few minutes and talk about the difference between denotative and connotative language, and then we're going to do kind of a creative headlines kind of assignment that'll give us some practice in this skill. Okay, so get started. So let's talk about denotative language. So denotative language, that's the literal definition of a word. There's really no implied meaning when you're using denotative language, right? So it's the dictionary definition of the word. So when you look up the word, you would see this definition. So example would be home. Home is a place where one lives, and that's it. There's really no implied or emotional meaning behind the word home. So denotative would be the definition that you look up and you see in the dictionary when you were to look at when you would look a word up in the dictionary. Okay. The opposite of that is going to be connotative language. Now, connotative language is a little bit different. Connotative language. Let me move myself there. Connotative language. That's the emotional meaning of words. And that can change from person to person depending on their experiences and their life situation, so on and so forth. So, for example, we could say home. There's a connotative meaning with the word home, right? And depending on your experiences, it would be different. So, connotative meaning for home could be a place of comfort. When we hear the word home, it makes us feel comfortable and we feel good about that. But home could also be kind of, if you have a kind of a if you live in a house that was kind of that it's kind of, there's a lot of arguing and tension or fighting or whatever, it could be a home could be have a negative connotation because of what you'd experienced in your home, right? Um, so again, kind of depending on your experiences kind of dictates, maybe the connotative meaning of a word. Let's take a look at another example here. So here's some examples. If I were to say the words childish, childlike, youthful, and young, all of those words, the denotative definitions of all those words, they're synonymous, right? They all denotatively mean the same thing, right? But connotative language, connotatively, they have a different meaning. So for example, if I were to say that someone is childish, right? The implied meaning behind saying that someone is being childish is probably not very good. It probably has a more negative connotation, right? They're being immature, they're acting unintelligent or ridiculous or whatever. Okay. So childish might have a more negative connotation. However, if I were to say someone were youthful, why, now that could mean something different. Youthful means, well, they're full of energy and maybe they look really good and they've got this vibrancy and this vitality that's just really like positive, and it might have a more positive connotation. All right. Again, childish and youthful pretty much mean the same thing denotatively, connotatively completely different. Okay. Let's look at another example. Lovely, knockout, beautiful, stunning. If I said someone was beautiful, right, the implied meaning might be that they are kind of more elegant or kind of more, maybe more graceful, kind of this more um, upper upper tier, I guess, um, version of that word. For example, like Disney princesses are a lot of times beautiful, right? Now, if I were to say someone's a knockout, right, that's different, right? Knockout is more specifically addressing, someone's more physical appearance, or it's so good it's hard to even describe, right? So you might think, well, Cinderella was beautiful, but Beyonce is a knockout, right? Would be kind of the difference between the two. Again, lovely, knockout, beautiful, stunning, all essentially mean the same thing, but different connotations with each word. Okay. So let's take a closer look at connotative language from Into Thin Air on page 62. Okay. Now, this is where John Krakauer is discussing when he first meets Rob Hall. and he's discussing what his thoughts are of Rob Hall. Okay, so excuse me, I'm sorry, not Rob Hall, Scott Fisher. Excuse me. Um, so within this discussion of Scott Fisher, he says Fisher 40 was a strapping, gregarious man with a blonde ponytail and a surfeit of manic energy, right? There's a lot of connotative language happening there, right? There's a lot of connotative language, right? And so if you were to think about, like, if we were to replace the word gregarious with likable, surfeit with a lot, or manic with wild, right? If we were to say Fisher 40 was a strapping likable man with a blonde ponytail and a lot of wild energy, it totally loses some of the connotative impact that it has, right? We're almost changing the meaning of the sentence through that connotative language, right? You don't need to write two or three sentences about each possible replacement, but I want you to think about that. What would change if we were to replace those words with something else? We would lose something in that, right? Let's take a look at something else here. So, what I want you to do for your assignment for this is I want you to find um, I want you to find some headlines, right? I want you to find two major headlines from a major news source. So New York Times, Casey Star, CNN, Time, etc. So a major news source, not blog pages, but a reputable news organization. And I want you to intensify the headline by replacing at least two words of the original writing with words that carry a stronger connotation. So, for example, I'm making this headline up, but let's say the headline reads, um, what if the headline reads, Hillary abuses, um, Hillary abuses power once again, right? The connotative language in there would be abuse and power. And if I were to replace those words with Hillary, um, let's see, if I were to say Hillary, um, what's a good one? I'm thinking out loud here. Hillary takes advantage of responsibility once again, right? That's different, right? That is a completely different sentence. Hillary abuses power has a really like powerful negative connotation. Where I say Hillary, you know, Hillary um, negatively I forgot my original sentence, but you know what I mean, right? You can see where I'm getting with this, right? So I want you to intensify the headline by replacing. I want you to intensify one of the headlines by replacing two of the words of the original writing with words that would carry stronger connotation. Then I also want you to de-escalate one of the headlines by replacing two words of the original writing with words that carry a weaker connotation. So if I were to say, if you saw a headline about an earthquake and it said, city rocked, devastated by massive earthquake. And if I were to say, city sad and depressed about big earthquake, right? That's different. That is different. Okay, so you can see I'm kind of de-escalating this. Then what I want you to do for each sentence or for each headline, I want you to write a 5 to sentence analysis that discusses your changes, right? So I want you to discuss what words did you replace and why do those words carry a stronger connotation or a weaker connotation than the words in the original sentence, the words in the original headline. So you'll have one headline, you'll escalate it. You'll have another headline, you'll de-escalate it. With each headline, you're going to have a 5 to 7 sentence analysis of this of the headline that you changed. Okay, this you can do this on a Word document. This goes on the Schoology Dropbox. Take a look at this. Let me know if you have any questions. And this is due on Wednesday, so make sure you get it done by Wednesday. See ya.